Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Hockey Talk. My name is Wes Atkinson. I'm here with my co-host Scott Feeney. We got lots of stuff to talk about today. Even though the Leafs haven't played a game since our last show, there's still lots of news around the NHL and with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to get into a major record being tied by a former Maple Leaf. A team has been officially eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs, which means the playoffs are right around the corner. So that's exciting. We have to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and what that means for the North Division and the NHL at large. Going to talk about the Winnipeg game a little bit because, we have to, even though we don't want to, we have to. Other than that, how are you doing today, Scott?
I'm all right, man. Doing okay. I'm hoping that the Leafs actually get to play this game against Vancouver, but things are well. Girls are well. They're still saying "Go Leafs, go!" even with the losses because they don't jump off bandwagons like I see so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
Campbell. We'll talk about him too.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Things are well. How about you, bud?
I'm pretty good, man. It's been neat watching the NHL. About all the storylines of what's happening when there aren't Leaf games going on, and when there are things to talk about that are honestly more important than hockey, right? Like we're going to talk about the Canucks a lot in this show and what that means for the North Division, like I said. But right now, let's get some news and notes out of the way. Former Maple Leaf Patrick Marleau, man, he tied Gordie Howe atop the NHL's all-time games played list with 1,767 games played on Saturday night versus the Wild. Marleau's in his 23rd season, but this is crazy with Gordie Howe. I was looking up his stats. He played until he was 51. The thing is, though, he played 6 seasons in the World Hockey Association, so with his total, they don't include the 419 games he played in that league. So I think
that's fair.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool. That's wild. Marleau, he's an Iron Man. Like I don't understand how the guy doesn't get hurt. Those ice baths in the second intermission must do wonders.
Yeah.
Like those 419 games that you said from the WHA. It does make a lot of games, and I mean it makes it so it feels like it's not close. But I mean that's like saying Marleau might go play across the sea. I don't see him doing that, but until he's 51, and those games would all total in. So I
guess so. I think the thing is the WHA was kind of absorbed into the NHL eventually, so it's kind of a bit of a, stick in the mud type of thing. The NHL doesn't include those records. Like that's why there's no scoring record for Gretzky's rookie year, right?
Yeah, I mean, like this is a hell of a feat, but is it weird that I like it? I'm more impressed with just the Iron Man of his career. Not so much that he's played the same amount of games as Gordie Howe, but the fact that this guy was to be counted on for 82 games every single season, and somehow or other would dress for every one of those games at good health.
Yeah.
Hats off to the San Jose Sharks for letting them take this Cinderella tour, though.
Oh, because, for sure.
I mean, Mark Messier would have loved to get those next 9 games, wouldn't he have?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I thought another cool stat I saw was something like since Marleau started and to currently, he's played with something like a third of the guys who have played in the NHL ever.
Wow, that's a pretty wild stat.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean he's been through a bunch of different. He's been through a couple of eras now.
That's for sure, man. And like we're definitely gonna talk about him again when he breaks the record. It was kind of cool last night too. I saw the game at the end of it where the Wild actually came by and like shook his hand and congratulated him. So it's nice to see like things that are more important than like wins and losses and appreciating a guy who's had the career that Marleau's had.
Yeah, he's an ultra leader. He was great in Toronto. Love him. Let's move on to the Canucks, man.
You want to get right into the Canucks, eh?
I do. I want to know like what the hell's going on there? Like how's that going?
Well, their game versus Edmonton on Friday was postponed, man, and like even the game on Saturday was delayed against the Leafs, and now they're coming back today, Sunday, and then another game on Tuesday against the Leafs. So they're kind of easing them in there. It is going to be interesting to watch because I'm worried that the Leafs need these games, right? Like they want to strengthen their position as number 1 in the division, but if you come out hard and say they get up 4-1 in the first period, do you keep your foot on the gas or do you let up because these guys have gone through what they've gone through?
Well, I mean, I think that it's that's a tough call, but like I don't think that you want to beat them 8-0.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you want to do that, but I think that you do still play a solid hockey game. Like you do win the game 6-1. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You can't let that team come back because those are the kind of things like we're also in the middle of trying to keep momentum and get it back. We gotta knock this power play situation off. I think that the Leafs need to try to play them hard because you, it's a professional sport, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that if there's compassion to be had, it's got to be from the league, and I think they've done that by postponing a couple of the games, and hopefully when it's time said to play, um, hopefully they're able to put up a good game, and I hope the Canucks are able to play hard because I want the Leafs to play hard against them.
Yeah, I do too, man. And I think, like, I'm just worried that if they are embarrassed, like the Buffalo Sabres were embarrassed when they came back, right? Like they lost 18 in a row, and I'm not saying Buffalo was gonna make the playoffs or what, but when they were affected by COVID, they were pretty much at 500. They weren't out of it. They weren't, they weren't a joke of the league at the time. Like they were kind of in the mix, and COVID destroyed their season. And if everything we've read about what the Vancouver Canucks have gone through, it's worse than what the Sabres went through. So if they come out and they just look so bad, and I'm not necessarily talking about these two games against Toronto, but if they come out of the gate and they lose like 7 in a row and they lose those games decisively, man, I think there's going to be a lot of people shaking their fists at the NHL.
Me too. And so I'm going to kind of tie that together with that original question of would the Leafs take their foot off the gas? And I don't think the Leafs should take their foot off the gas. I think they need to play the game hard right to the end. And if that happens, that Vancouver does somehow get embarrassed, I don't want to really look at it like shame on the Leafs. I do fully expect then to hear much louder talk from the Vancouver players saying how it's unfair,
Mm-hmm.
how maybe this wasn't right, like because we already heard them talk once, and that's why the games got postponed. If I'm
Yeah.
looking at it right, yeah, I think that there would be a lot of noise, and I think that it would be a bad look on the league. I just like the Leafs. They're in the situation where they're the team that maybe are going to be the ones that do it. Um, I don't think that they don't do it. Like you do,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah, you
you
play
you
to win the
have
game.
to,
Yeah.
you do, and I mean you have to play to get your systems going right so that it rolls into the next game. It's just how hockey is. Um, I'm not out to embarrass anybody, but I feel bad about like I'll really feel bad if it does happen to the Canucks. Like it'll be a garbage feeling on that one.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's been bothering me a bit because I've been reading different articles and things about why the Vancouver Canucks need to play the whole like season out, right? And it's to do with the draft lottery and all this crap. And I'm like, this year is unlike any other year. Just get over it, right? Like go by winning percentage for the draft lottery. I don't understand why they can't just outright cancel the games they have against the Ottawa Senators. Like those games literally mean nothing in the standings right now. Like Vancouver isn't going to get on this hot streak and make the playoffs, and neither are the Sens. So there's 4 games they could literally get rid of, and it would make it easier on those players as human beings. And like, I just don't get it because just have a bit of humanity. And the thing is too, don't keep extending the season. Because if this whole thing is about we need to be done before the Olympics and we need to not affect next year's start date, then you need to be willing to change things as they go.
I agree. No, yeah, I think you're bang on all of that, man. Like I don't even know where to add on to that because you're right. The games that don't need to be played shouldn't be like it. There's a way around this, and um, I know that it's all driven by money and dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has made this more clear over the last year that things are driven by money and dollars. Um, Many decisions, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah, I'm not going to add on. Like, I think you're spot on your assessment there, bud.
Yeah, it's something, man. And well, let's actually talk about the games a little bit. Like Nylander, he's actually going to be cleared to play, but he's going to be a game time decision. I think it's kind of the perfect time to bring him back, man. It's the Canucks are coming, and they're coming off COVID, man. It's a great opportunity, in my opinion, for Nylander to get his legs under him.
100%. I'm with you. He should be playing in the game if he's able to. This is the game to play, even if you have to isolate him down on another line. Like, I mean, whatever, get his legs under him, ease him back, do whatever you want to do. This is the game to do it. The next game's going to be tougher.
Exactly, right. And yeah, it's good to see that he's cleared to play. He didn't have COVID. He had all the negative tests. He took his like 9-day, 10-day quarantine, whatever it was. So it was nice to see that it was an abundance of caution that caused him to sit out as long as he did, which is nice to see. And like it's refreshing to see that it's not all about push the guys and get them playing and win, right?
Yeah, man. And I'm going to make a take. I'm going to make a little quick hot take on this. I think that Willie Nylander, good old Willie Styles, is going to score on the power play.
Nice.
He's going to be the next power play goal, and it's going to happen in the first game he's playing in. But yeah, no, I think that it was good to see that the Leafs are taking the health approach. I agree with you with that. They're putting player first, like the person first.
Yeah.
I think, but he wasn't sick though.
No, he wasn't. He was
9 negative tests in a row.
From what I saw, he was exposed. He was exposed to someone who tested positive like later after the road trip. So it was just like him. They didn't know if he had been exposed at a time that our person was contagious. It's not like he broke any rules or anything like that. It's just the way things are right now, right? And it's scary out there, so you never know. One segment we didn't get to in our last show, but I really want to do today. The Leafs made an abundance of trades, but there's all these guys that are literally in COVID quarantine because they came from the States. So let's do this little segment of who's in, who's out. Let's look at the roster from the game versus the Flames when Matthews was in, and we'll try to fill in the blanks of what player we're going to take out and what player we're going to put in. How's that sound?
I like it, buddy.
All right. Well, let's start off with the goalies, man. So we got Big Save Dave, Campbell, and what if Freddie is back for the playoffs? Who's your pair going into the playoffs?
My pair would be. I'd likely have. Well, we got to see how Campbell comes out of this. Okay. And I'm gonna I'm sorry to ramble. I always do. But I know it should be an easy answer. But I haven't seen Campbell go through adversity. And when I'm starting to feel, and I'm wondering if he's a goalie that straight up rides his emotions and has trouble stopping a wave. Either way, 11 wins in a row, amazing emotions, rode the wave. But then he got a loss, and you hear his post-game interviews, the way that he's really hard on himself. I wonder how he comes back from these losses, because so far it hasn't looked good at all. So let's see how that rolls out. Okay, I'm gonna delay the answer, but if I were to pick today, it's Freddie and Jack.
Freddie and Jack, yeah. I think that's the answer that we have to pick today, because there are guys we started the season with. I will say, as of right now, today I'd put Jack starting game 1 in the playoffs.
Me too, hands down. He's earned that. He's completely earned that, and it's all who's earned that start. And has Freddie earned it? No. Jack did. And he's got a few more starts to go, though. So that question can still be answered later. But today, yeah, man, Jack's the starter. Freddie's on the pine.
All right. And then let's move on to another guy who probably won't be back to the playoffs at all. It was the first trade the Leafs made in the trade season. Where do you put Riley Nash?
Well, if you got Riley Nash, we're looking at the lineup. So, I mean, we would both be looking at the bottom 6, right?
Yep. So,
I mean, we got Mikheyev, Engvall, Simmons on line 3. Robertson, Kerfoot, and Sabourin were on line 4. Now, does Riley Nash, can he play on the wing?
I think so, yeah.
Let's see what Sabourin brings, because I'm not just okay with having just a fight up on the board. I would think that Riley Nash would be inserted into there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it would be either Robertson or Sabourin coming out to put Riley Nash in. And I think it more likely to be Sabourin. And I really think in the playoffs, the third and the fourth lines are going to be playing more equal minutes. It's not going to be the fourth line getting like way less minutes than the third line.
And this doesn't mean that Nash is going to stay in the lineup. We got more names to talk about.
Yep. And even, you know what I was thinking about too in this lineup? This was the game that Spezza missed, so we have to fit him in there too.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. I saw his name's not there.
Yeah. So where would we put Spezza out of this lineup? I would think it's Sabrin. Like Sabrin's coming right out and Spezza's going in.
So with me, it's now putting Sabrin 2 down the depth chart though behind Nash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so yeah, like Spetz is on that fourth line on the wing there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Okay. Who else do we have here? So what about Ben Hutton? You know, he's a depth defenseman. I think, you know, if we're modeling after the Tampa Bay Lightning of last year, they were rotating their defensemen, right? Like Luke Shen and Zach Bogosian, they didn't play every playoff game. They were kind of in and out, going back and forth. I think from everything I've read about Ben Hutton, I honestly think he's going to push Dermott out of the lineup.
That's who's the sixth man. Like he's six, Bogosian's five. You know, like like Hall's in, Muzzin's in, Riley's in, Brody's in.
Mm-hmm.
Like right, like you're not moving them at all. Any of those four.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Bogosian. I think I hear what you were saying. I could see almost like a three-player kind of rotate through.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I see Bogosian, Dermott, and Dermott being the first and most likely, obviously. I'm with you, man. Yeah, that's where that would roll. They would just roll that third pairing and roll him and the others out.
Especially when you think of who's waiting in the wings too, man. One of the least top prospects for the past few years. You wonder if they're going to give him a little bit of playoff action to see what he can do.
There's a weird vibe about Sandin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what it is. Like, and Keith knows him. You know,
Yep.
Keith went to battle, won a Memorial Cup or whatever the hell cup with him. You know, and yeah, I don't know. Sandin, I've been clamoring for him to play at some point, but I don't see him knocking any of those guys out of the lineup. Like, I take that back. You know, like with what Dermott puts onto the table, I'd like to see Sandin playing alongside there for a game or two just to see what that would look like too.
Mm-hmm. I hope he's back in time for them to get him into a few games at the end of the regular season, you know, just to see what stage he's at, man, and if he can be back even for the Marlies when the Marlies get going again, because, you know, you look at the past few Cup winners, man, they would go through 8-9 defensemen on their run to the Stanley Cup, so it's not like we don't need them or want them. It's just you want to have some depth because guys get injured too in the playoffs.
You're 100% right. Like you're looking at that. I was going to say that like those six names that are on that list aren't going to be there every game.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody's going to get hurt. You know, somebody's going to break a foot. You know, there's going to be lineup changes. Like the depth defenseman, you don't really pay attention to it as much during the regular season. But in the playoffs, when everything is ramped up, when blocking that shot means everything more, you see guys putting their bodies on the line in different ways. It's what happens. You're going to get hurt more.
Well,
depth defensemen, the 7th, 8th, and 9th guys are going to become pretty important roles.
Yeah. Remember what happened last year in that bubble, man? That Jake Muzzin got injured, I think it was in Game 3, and the Leafs just never were able to recover from that injury.
We made it feel like we lost Bobby Orr.
Yeah, it really did. It really, really did.
We had no depth. We couldn't handle that. Where now 7th, 8th, 9th guys, we can weather the storm on those things.
And I do think it helps that that Hall's taken a step or two. You know what I mean? He's a reliable number 4 defenseman right now. So last year he wasn't.
Just think about how we've looked at that. Like, I mean, what I've heard us say so far is that Kyle Dubas got burned last year a couple of ways, and he's learned his lesson. Has put depth defensemen in there. You know, like he's got himself another goaltender here. Like, I don't know, man. But who else we got? What's next?
Well, next one we have the biggest trade acquisition the Leafs made. So let's go through the lineup, right? Let's put our first two lines together. So we're gonna have, in my opinion, I'd have Matthews, Marner, Hyman, right? Second line, I'd want Tavares, Nylander. Do you think Foligno fits there?
Yeah, I do. I see a bit of moving around on the lines. Okay, like I could see Hyman going back up, you know, playing with Matthews and Marner, and let's say you had Tavares, Nylander, and Foligno on the second line. You've got two extremely hardworking lines. Okay, but then you've got Galchenyuk needs to get put down.
That's
all
true.
right. So he's now going to go down, which now makes it where, that's where Robertson's maybe going to have his part lost.
Yeah.
I don't see Mikheyev going out. He's got a lot to his game. Like, yeah, you can't take that out of the game. Simmons, we need his grit in the lineup. Um,
I think,
I'm saving removing Engvall because we still need to put Spezza on the line, man.
yeah, like
Like, so Robertson's out.
yes,
Robertson's out. I think Simmons is in. I think Engvall is out. Spezza in for him. Mikheyev, Spezza, Simmons kind of a line there. You
okay.
know, Galchenyuk
So a
or
Galchenyuk,
maybe you've got
Kerfoot,
Galchenyuk on the
Thornton line.
third line.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
and then Galchenyuk could play. Yeah, you know, man, there's Keith. You've got your work cut
yeah,
out for you, man. I don't know what the hell to do.
and
I
yeah,
just sounded like a mess.
yeah, I know, man. And you know what? We are doing this on the fly. It's not like we had too much prepped, but like I said before, I really think the third and the fourth line, they're going to be very interchangeable because, man, I loved at the beginning of the season the idea of Simmons, Thornton, Spezza line, like the old man line, but it clearly doesn't work, man. The last few games they've put that together, and I don't know what it is with Thornton lately. He hasn't had a step, and it's too bad that just has fallen off for him, and he's looking his age. And Simmons, ever since he came back from that injury, he hasn't been the same guy either. Spezza, awesome. He has definitely done way better than anyone thought he would do. But that line, you can't put those three together.
No, you can't. I can see. Uh, does Thornton stay in the lineup the whole time? Like, I don't
That,
see him getting pulled from the
ooh,
lineup, but
it,
maybe he does. Like,
yeah,
you just said it yourself. He doesn't have a step, so why does he get the ice time? Like,
yeah.
and I'm not advocating for him to come out of it. Okay, I'm just sparking a debate on this. Like, why does Thornton deserve the ice time over the guys we've just said might get pulled from the lineup?
Mm-hmm. And
Like,
I think Thornton, to me, man, he is going to be a guy where he is going to be a specialist, right? You can't play him with two other guys the same amount of minutes, man. I really think he did the best at at the beginning of the season when he would always be start on the offensive zone, and it really is going to be situational, right? Like he still has the hands, man. He makes some amazing passes. I swear he would have some more points if the guys he was giving the puck to could convert, man, and and score because there's been so many posts lately, so many like through the legs passes and things like that Thornton's able to do, but he just can't keep up, and it's going to be almost like he's going to be on the power play too, and they get what, maybe 30 seconds, and then start only in the offensive zone, man. And it's almost like he's a fourth liner where you don't want him out there taking an icing and have him start in the defensive end.
no, you're right about that. He can't be in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
I don't want him there.
Yeah.
But like, I think to myself, he'll put in a big goal, but won't Robertson? Like, won't Robertson put a big goal in?
I hope so. And I think what's going back to the Canucks, right? And just going back to how the schedules changed too. When they had laid this out, as far as I know, they didn't want to have back-to-backs in the playoffs. In the North Division, no chance they're going to be able to avoid that. So there's going to be so much shifting in the lineup for the Leafs where is Thornton going to be able to keep up to the pressure in back-to-back games in the playoffs?
That's a good point. Maybe he gets rested on those.
Yeah.
Maybe. Now here's my take to the questions that I've asked because I asked them like I'm against them. I want Thornton in the lineup.
Okay.
I preach all the time character, chemistry, and hard work. I think that he's going to do all of those things, and I don't see him being a liability on that ice. I think that if you use him situationally, like you're saying, and you're able to, because he's not a top 6 guy on this team. He's not top 9 if you really sit there and look at it, you know. And that's not disrespectful. That's because we've got a good lineup here.
Yeah.
So we could use him as a weapon, and we could use his character at its fullest and have him part of this ride because I think that those pieces are important.
I think an interesting line that I would like to see between now and the end of the season would be Thornton, Spezza, Galchenyuk.
That'd be a good line. I like it. I think that would be a good line. You know, let Galchenyuk just fly all over the place. The vision of the other two guys would be magic.
I think it's worth a try, right? And
why not?
Yeah, I think that's about it. It's why not, because I said it before.
Make it your first power play unit, Wes.
There you go. That would be fantastic. Like I said it before, where I don't think Galchenyuk can succeed in the way we want him to succeed as a bottom 6 forward. You know, and I think that do we just change our expectations where Like he's looked really good, I think, with Nylander and Tavares. Like, man, Galchenyuk has really brought Tavares back to life. I think Tavares has 10 points in the last 7 games, and I think that's more Galchenyuk than anything else.
You're right. You're right, man. Like maybe I looked at that wrong. But I'm not bumping Hyman further down the lineup.
No, not at all. Like,
but you're right. That's such a tough call because like we're looking at this as like just where are we inserting pieces, but like really I missed a main piece here. How do you make sure that you're getting everybody to be at the most effective level so that the total line is higher, you know? But yeah, Galchenyuk, you're right. He's got to play, but I don't know what the hell to do. Yep. Injuries might make the choices for us.
Absolutely.
I haven't heard anything about Matthews.
Yeah, he's out as day to day, as far as I know. And I was talking to a relative about this. If he needs another day, take a day. Like, man, just take your time with him. We're not in a playoff race for, to just squeak in. And like, I get that he wants to win the scoring title for sure, but at the same time, if he wins the Rocket this year and the Leafs get bounced in the first round, what's the story?
If the story is that we got bounced in the first round.
Exactly. If he doesn't win the Rocket and Leafs make it to the third round, what's the story?
Leafs made it to the third round. If he wins the Rocket and we make it to the third round, what's the story?
Well, that's it. Then it's an awesome season for us, right? But if you can only have one or the other, what's more important to you as a Leaf fan, right?
Make it to the third round, man. I don't care about the Rocket or Shard. That's a nice little piece to look at that mantelpiece, a little bragging rights. But at the end of the day, I want it all,
party,
right? Man. I want a party.
100%. I want a parade. I went to the Raptors parade, and I want that for the Leafs. That's what I want.
I want it too.
Yeah.
Let's get this COVID crap under control so we can have a parade.
That's it, man. It would be fantastic. And we can talk about that when we get a little bit closer to the playoffs. I think that pretty much wraps it up for who's in, who's out. The other players the Leafs acquired, I think, are more depth guys, and who knows if we actually see them at all this year.
Yeah. I don't think that we've got a lot of spaces to really plug them in, man.
No.
Maybe hello to the taxi squad.
Yeah. Could be some black.
Introduce them to the Marleys, but I don't see any ice time for them.
For sure. Before we move on to the Jets game, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about, man. Yesterday, the first team of the season has been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Do you have any idea who that was?
I'm pretty positive I can go with a team that lost 18 games in a row.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise, it was the Buffalo Sabres, eh? So they haven't made it to the playoffs for 10 years, and that's an NHL record tied with the Florida Panthers and the Oilers. Do you see the playoffs? Do you see the playoffs in the future of the Buffalo Sabres next year?
How about you ask me if they can hold on to their coach for a little while?
Yeah.
Dude, like honestly, like how do you expect to make these things happen when you're going, all right, we're going to learn a new system. All right, we're finally getting it down. Boom, axed.
Yeah.
All right, going to learn a new system. Finally getting it down. Boom, axed. Like 7 times. In the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Man, I don't see them making the playoffs next year. I think that this is going to have awful effect to what they're going to do to the team, and I don't have faith inside to think that they're going to make the right moves that they're supposed to make in this offseason to even go in a better direction. I'm not saying they're going to get worse, but I'm going to say that if there's moves to be had, they're going to be had by the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, I think like there's just too much to fix to make them a playoff team, and if we're going back to the regular divisions next year. Like I don't think they can, man. Like you can rhyme off the teams that are better or will be better than the Sabres next year, and they're going to become the sole owners of this horrible record when they miss for the 11th time in a row next year.
Big time, man.
To put that in perspective as Leaf fans, I thought this was a long time, man. The Leafs' longest playoff drought was 7 years, and that was from 2006 to 2012. Man, that felt like an eternity.
It did. It did. It took that shortened season for us to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. And it actually, in real time, it was 8 years, but that's because the 2005 season was canceled, and that has nothing to do with the Leafs. But man, like when they made the playoffs that first time, it was like just party time, like you said, and it was amazing.
Big time. Like I got got mental images of seeing Kadri going up into the boards. Do you know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, it was awesome. Yeah. That was a long time though.
Mm-hmm.
And to be 100% honest, uh, that wasn't a good playoff. That didn't end that great. But whatever.
No, it didn't. But at least we got to experience it. Because like I remember thinking, like looking back at it, I was in university at this time. The Leafs made it to the playoffs my first year university, and it was such an awesome experience. Like we had this big campus pub. It was all Leafs all the time. Wicked atmosphere to watch the game, and then it never happened again. And it was just too bad. And I can see why people, like younger people, my friends' kids, they're not Leaf fans, especially the ones that are like closer to 10, 11 years old. The Leafs were god awful for most of their time growing up when they were kids.
Well, and you just said it, those 10 or 11-year-old kids, that means that their parents likely were in university and didn't get to go and experience Toronto Maple Leaf playoff hockey, so they didn't get to become big old passionate fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that wasn't passed down. An entire generation had a tough time being able to pass down uh, being a
Mm-hmm.
passionate Leaf fan, and somehow or other, there's still the biggest fan base that I've ever seen, of the most passionate fans that I've ever seen,
Oh
and I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, man.
I
And
would I would want it no other way. Okay, who the hell am I kidding? I would want it a parade.
fair
But
enough. Yeah.
the character of the crew of Leaf Nation, they're in all walks of life,
Yeah,
all walks of life,
I've
and I
gone
love it.
coast to coast across this country, and I've seen Leaf games in tons of different buildings, and it's always amazing to walk into like the Saddle Dome in Calgary wearing my Leaf jersey when the Leafs were in there for the one time a year, and there was tons of Leaf fans there, and it's just such a cool experience to know that you're not alone, and like Leaf Nation is literally everywhere.
I was in Czech Republic near Christmas time, and there was maybe 5 different sports teams of Christmas balls hanging up in one of their stock stores, their big stores, box
Mm-hmm.
stores, and it was the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Florida Panthers, the Philadelphia Flyers, Toronto Maple Leafs, which I thought was funny, and the Leafs were up there, and all the other guys were Jaromir Jagr's teams.
Oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense up there.
But the Leafs were there. I thought that was cool. No one else.
All right, yeah, it's really awesome to be part of a sports like be a fan of a team that is iconic. You know, I couldn't. It'd be so different to be a fan of like I don't know, let's say the like the San Jose Sharks, right? Like they've had lots of success. They've done well in the playoffs. They've never won it all, but they were for a long time a steady team. But it's just like who the hell knows who they are, right?
Yeah, like when you make a movie about a team, you're gonna make a movie about like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Leafs, let's talk about a game that we definitely don't want to see a movie of. Last Thursday, while we were recording our last episode, 5-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. Man, the Leafs were able to get off to a hot start. They scored the first game. They scored the first goal of the game. It was a really nice goal by Galchenyuk, actually. But man, that was about it. That was the only thing I liked about that game.
Me too. You know, I mean, Campbell, he had a rough night. That's to put it lightly.
He did, yeah.
And I'm not going to hate on him. People have rough nights.
Yep.
Come back the next game though, bud. I want to see him come back because man, I'll tell you. You said Tavares earlier, like Galchenyuk has got him going. Tavares is playing some seriously good hockey. Like he's got his edges on his skates again. Like he can just turn on a dime with that puck. He's smart, and it shows. And it's like his confidence was a little rocked, and now it's coming back. You feel it. And Johnny Toronto, man, captain. He's getting hot, and let's get hot down the stretch and be hot during the playoffs, man. Like, because that's where everything.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's where everything is going to be remembered about the season, one way or another. One thing I did notice about when I was reviewing this game is it's just like a footnote. It's like, oh yeah, Matthews and Nylander weren't in this game. I'm like, that's a big miss, man. You're missing like 2 of your top 6 forwards. So, like, is it surprising that the Jets were able to win? I don't think so.
No, but I think that you're right. It's unbelievable though that I still expect the Leafs to be able to win that game, even without those guys in that lineup. That's how deep we are, and it's awesome. And we're only deeper with Foligno coming in and Nash, being able to come in, and Hutton. Like this is cool, dude. But that game sucked against the Jets, and it wasn't very fun. Wasn't very fun at all. I don't like seeing Campbell get rocked in the first and get a yank. I want to see how his mental fortitude is during this, because this is the test right now.
Yeah, and I think there's like some coaching that goes along with it too, because I really think he was pulled more because they didn't have the timeout. They took their timeout when they were trying to score on the 5-on-3, and yeah, man, the first two goals that he let in, I think he could have had. The third goal, man, it was Scheifele on a breakaway. You can't really fault him for that. Like it was to shake up the team, and then you know what? It was good to see Riddick come in. I think he played well.
Me too. Riddick is a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's an entertaining goalie. Like, I mean, he's always thinking about how to move the puck. Like, and I think no further than the game against Calgary when there was the power play. And Calgary came up, took a shot on him, and I mean, any goalie that I've ever watched would have froze the puck. But he took it and he threw it, and it was kind of risky, but he knew what he was doing, and it went right to our D man right in the corner. Just to avoid a defensive zone face-off on a power play.
Yeah.
And that's how heads up he is. He's cool. I like Riddick.
And he's going to get some games from here on out too, right? The Leafs have a bunch of back-to-backs coming up. Their schedule's been all messed up because of this, but we will see him in the net.
100%, if nothing more than for health management.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get into previewing some of the upcoming games, I got another 2-pack of This Day in Hockey History. I think we're just in the time of year when the playoffs would be going on, so there's all kinds of cool stuff that I really want to talk about. So in 42, this one obviously way before our time, but it was a legendary Toronto Maple Leafs comeback. It was the greatest comeback in Stanley Cup Finals history when they defeated the Detroit Red Wings 3-1 in Game 7 of the final. The Leafs became the first team in the NHL, and I believe in professional sports history, to win a best-of-7 series after losing the first 3 games. And they're still the only ones to do it in the final in the NHL.
Imagine doing that in the Cup final.
Oh my God, man! Like
that's unreal.
It is unreal. Could you imagine being a Detroit fan and you're up 3-0, and like you're just, obviously fandom is different now compared to what it was then, but you would be like, yeah, we're gonna win. Like, we have 4 chances to win. And my God, how heartbreaking that would be.
Devastating, man. Like, I don't even know, man. Like, that's lore type stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's how legends are made, and that's how empires fall. Like, that's, I would have hated to have been a Red Wings fan, but it goes down in Leafs history, and that's awesome. Coming back 3-0 in the Cup final. Forget about anything else. You're in the Cup final. It's all or nothing. You're going home or you're taking home the Cup. 3-0.
Yeah, and I honestly think the next team in professional sports to come back from a 3-0 series deficit was the Red Sox against the Yankees in the early 2000s. I think in the ALCS, which was amazing to watch at that time. So, like, that's how rare it was at that time. It was literally 80 years or 60 years, something like that, before it happened again.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, like, it's such a rare thing. Like, we're under 5 times in all of professional sports, right? Like,
I think so.
3, like I think.
Yeah, anyway. It's crazy. The other one I wanted to mention, and like he's come up so many times in our This Day in Hockey History. Wayne Gretzky in 1999 played his final game in the NHL. Man, he got his 2,857th point of his NHL career in an assist with the New York Rangers 2-1 overtime loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this is kind of cool. After the game, Gretzky was still in his uniform when he meets the media. When that's done, he sits a while longer, allowing the moment to linger. And he says, probably subconsciously, I don't want to take it off. I'm not going to pull it on ever again. It's hard. It's hard to take it off right now. To be honest with you, I don't want to take it off. End quote.
It's goosebump material, man. Like, that's a guy that loved the game and lived and breathed the game. Did it like no one else. And like no one else will ever do it again. Look what Connor McDavid's doing right now.
Yep.
And it's not Wayne Gretzky.
Yep.
It's not even close. Yeah, that's deep stuff. We have a lot of Hockey Day in history with Wayne Gretzky because he had 2,857 points.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is let's preview the upcoming games. We talked about Vancouver. I think the Leafs are going to win those 2 games. What do you think?
I do too. I think that it'll be a winning streak that's going to start there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to go on a little bit of a run. Those 3 games, I think that we'll be heading into Winnipeg with a bit of momentum.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's going to be an odd momentum like we've talked about. I really hope they beat Winnipeg and just kind of solidify their place atop the North Division and are able to kind of, I don't want to say coast, but just take it easy the rest of the season.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have to say today, unless you have anything you want to talk about before we get going.
No, I don't think I have a hell of a lot here. I'm going to get the girls up to watch the first period of these games. And, at least the first one. The second one's a late one, so that won't happen. But go Leafs go, man. Thanks, Wes. I liked that who's in, who's out segment. That was fun.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that for coming up to the playoffs, and we're going to see who starts game 1 of the playoffs. Well, if you like what you see and what you hear, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at BlueCollarHT. Email us if you have any questions, bluecollarhockeytalk@gmail.com. And like Scott said, go Leafs go.